Shalom, Erev Tov, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. The IDF has begun preparing the ground for its invasion of Gaza City. Australian Jews voice concern over increased attacks against their community. Israel inaugurates its embassy in Zambia as bilateral relations between Jerusalem and Lusaka are on the rise. Israel has not yet responded to the ceasefire and hostage deal that was proposed by Qatar and Egypt, and which the Islamist Hamas accepted earlier this week. And according to Israeli media reports, Jerusalem does not intend to dispatch a delegation for further negotiations at this stage. Instead, the IDF is preparing the ground for its offensive into Gaza City, while it also continues to proactively defend the state of Israel on multiple fronts.
While operating in Gaza, we are also continuing offensive and defensive activities on the Lebanese border, in Syria and in Judea and Samaria. We continue to monitor developments in Iran. The IDF is in a multi-arena war. We are operating and will continue to operate in order to protect our civilians on all our borders.
IDF troops completed a targeted raid on several commando outposts belonging to the old Syrian regime on the slopes of Mount Hermon summit in Syria yesterday. As part of the operation, the troops apprehended and questioned several suspects in the area who engaged in the smuggling and trade of weapons from Syria into Lebanon. During the raid and searches at the outposts, more than 300 weapons were located, all of which were subsequently confiscated. In a statement, the IDF spokesperson's unit announced that troops continue to work in the area to protect the security of the citizens of the State of Israel and the residents of the Golan Heights in particular. Separately in Lebanon, the IDF struck and eliminated a terrorist from Hezbollah's Radwan force who operated in the Deir Sirian area in southern Lebanon. The IDF underscored the terrorists' actions constituted a violation of the understandings between Israel and Lebanon, and that the IDF will continue to operate in order to remove any threat posed to the State of Israel. And in this line, the Israeli Air Force struck additional targets in southern Lebanon, which included weapons caches belonging to the Iranian proxy Hezbollah. Meanwhile, in the Gaza Strip, the IDF repelled a significant attack on an IDF outpost in the southern Gaza Strip, which, according to an initial assessment, included an attempted kidnapping of Israeli troops.
Kfir Brigade troops thwarted a terrorist attack on a brigade post in southern Khan Yunis. The troops identified more than 15 terrorists who emerged from a tunnel shaft and opened fire, including RPG fire, at the troops. In the battle that developed around the post, our troops repelled the terrorists. The troops sought contact and engaged the terrorists. The troops conducted the battle in cooperation with a tank force, which isolated the area, along with air support. During the battle, 9 terrorists were eliminated. We assume that additional terrorists were injured in the attack. Some of the bodies of the terrorists can be seen lying outside the outpost's embankments.
General Defrin further confirmed that during the course of the Palestinian attack on the Kfir Brigade post, 3 soldiers sustained injuries, to include 1 in serious condition. Separately, the IDF spokesman highlighted that the IDF is preparing for the next phase of Operation Gideon's Chariots.
In accordance with the directives of the political leadership and following the approval of the plans by the Chief of the General Staff, the IDF has begun the next phase of the war, Phase 2 of Operation Gideon's Chariots. The concentration of troops in Gaza City was made possible thanks to the achievements of Operation Gideon's Chariots. Hamas today is not the same Hamas that existed before the operation. From a military terrorist organization, it has become a battered and bruised guerrilla organization. We will deepen the damage to Hamas in Gaza City, a stronghold of governmental and military terror for the terrorist organization. We will deepen the damage to the terror infrastructure above and below the ground and sever the population's dependence on Hamas.
While Qatar and Egypt are waiting for Israel's response to a proposed deal, which includes a partial return of the hostages from Hamas captivity, the IDF is seemingly not waiting for Jerusalem's answer. Rather, it is preparing the ground for the large-scale invasion.
אנחנו לא מחכים. התחלנו את הפעולות המקדימות והשלבים הראשונים.
We are not waiting. We have begun the preliminary actions, and already now, IDF troops are holding the outskirts of Gaza City. The Nahal and the 7th Brigade, under the command of the 99th Division, are operating on the ground in the Zaytun area on the outskirts of Gaza City. These activities have already brought achievements. In recent days, our troops have located an underground tunnel in which weapons were located inside Gaza City. Another effort by the Givati Brigade, under the command of the 162nd Division, is operating in the area of Jabaliyah. Additional troops will join the operation in the near future.
In parallel to operations for the final offensive into Gaza City, the IDF is also laying the groundwork for expanding the humanitarian effort for the benefit of the non-combatant population of the Palestinian enclave.
As part of laying the groundwork for the continuation of the operation, the IDF is also establishing a humanitarian effort. The coordinator of government activities in the territories is leading a civilian effort to adapt the humanitarian infrastructure in the southern Gaza Strip to meet the needs of the expected population. We continue to enable assistance to the civilians of the Gaza Strip and are expanding it. Additional aid distribution centers will be established. This approach will sever the population's dependence on Hamas. In order to minimize harm to civilians, the IDF will warn the civilian population and allow them to evacuate for their own protection, distancing themselves from the active combat zones.
General Defrin concluded his briefing by highlighting that the IDF's core objective is to retrieve all of the hostages from Hamas captivity and that no stone will be left unturned in its operational efforts to rescue all 50 of them. Meanwhile, in Yokohama, Japan, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres reiterated his call on Hamas to unconditionally release all of the hostages for the purpose of avoiding what he views as massive death and destruction that Israel's looming operation against Gaza City would inevitably cause.
I must reiterate that it is vital to reach immediately a ceasefire in Gaza and the unconditional release of all hostages, and to avoid the massive deaths and destruction that a military operation against Gaza City would inevitably cause.
Turning to Australia, where members of the Australian Jewish community are feeling increasingly uncomfortable and even singled out amid Canberra's increasing anti-Israel rhetoric, which brought about a deterioration of relations with Jerusalem.
A lot of Jewish people who are by and large immensely proud of being part of Australian society, are proud of this country, are proud of the achievements of this country and the contributions that our people, the Jewish people, have made to Australia and continue to make in every facet of society. A lot of Jews are feeling singled out and are feeling uncomfortable and are feeling perhaps a little bit even discriminated against.
Rabbi Eli Feldman continued by highlighting the impact which the narratives shown on mainstream media in Australia, as well as the rhetoric voiced by the Albanese government, have caused to Australia's Jewish community.
It's no coincidence that this synagogue, this very synagogue that we're sitting in right now, was attacked just at the beginning of this year with graffiti, with Nazi symbols, with an attempt to burn it down. There was a synagogue a few weeks ago in Melbourne that was attacked and they attempted to burn it down. In fact, my cousin's the rabbi there. And then there was another synagogue in Melbourne that was actually burnt down. Miraculously, no one was injured, but that wasn't for lack of trying. These things don't happen in a vacuum. When the temperature of the political discourse in the media is so focused on criticizing Israel, there will be ramifications for the local Jewish community, and that's something that we need to reflect on.
Turning to Zambia, where Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon was hosted by Zambian President Hakainde Hichilema, during the course of which Jerusalem and Lusaka highlighted the deepening of their alliance, which is rooted in common faith and mutual interests.
I believe it is the beginning of a new chapter between our nations, an alliance of believers in ancient traditions based on the Holy Bible. Opening our embassy here will strengthen bilateral relations and our strategic engagement with Africa.
But we would like to continue our economic cooperation built on this mutual respect, values, I must say beliefs. We are believers ourselves, and I remember when we had the state visit, I had to go to the holy place and put my hands on the wall. And that picture is hung here in the corridor. You saw it. So it tells you something.
It is important to highlight that the meeting took place during Minister Sal's diplomatic visit to Zambia, during which he opened the Israeli embassy in the country. Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. As ever, let us not forget the 50 hostages, to include up to 20 who are believed to be alive, who've now endured 685 days in brutal Hamas captivity in the Gaza Strip. Please pray for them and their families, and pray also for the peace of Jerusalem and the salvation of Israel. Separately, if you're blessed by our daily programs, since TV7 Israel is exclusively donation-based, any contribution will help us share the truth from here in Jerusalem. You can donate via our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. I'm Jonathan Hessen, wishing you an Erev Mevorach, and God willing, we will see you during our next update. Until then, Shalom from Jerusalem.